Is eyewitness testimony too unreliable to trust by the weak staff? Paragraph 1. Are eyewitnesses reliable? They are mistaken far more often than people think. Every year, more than 75,000 eyewitnesses identify criminal suspects in the U.S., and studies suggest that as many as a third of them are wrong. Mistaken eyewitnesses helped convict 3/4 of the 273 people who have been freed from U.S. prisons on DNA evidence presented by the Innocence Project, a nonprofit legal organization that challenges dubious prosecutions. After a comprehensive 2-year study of eyewitness testimony, the New Jersey Supreme Court concluded that it often leads to false identifications and recently ordered new rules on how such testimony is treated in the courtroom. Other states are moving in the same direction, and this week the U.S. Supreme Court will hear a case that may result in the first federal clarification on the use of eyewitnesses in 34 years. Paragraph 2. Why are so many eyewitnesses mistaken? Human memory is fragile and malleable. More than 2,000 studies on eyewitnesses in recent decades have determined that recollections are prone to decay, distortion, and suggestion. Honest, well-meaning people often simply misremember or misreport what they have seen. In one 1974 experiment, for example, more than 2,000 people were shown a 13-second video clip of a mugging, followed by a 6-man lineup. Just 14% of viewers correctly identify the perpetrator, a success rate lower than that of random guessing. In a 1999 study, 150 college students watched videos of a shooting and then of a 5-man lineup. Every one of them identified a suspect, even though the culprit was not pictured. Factors such as fear, poor lighting, the presence of weapon during a crime, and the passage of time have all been shown to cause mistakes in identifications. Even when a witness is the victim of the crime, witnesses are particularly inaccurate. Studies show when asked to remember the facial features of someone of a different race. Moving on to the questions. Question 1. In your own words, state the main idea of this reading. Be sure to explain the argument being made here. My response to question 1 would be, the main idea of the passage was to inform the reader of how the justice system handles eyewitnesses. Throughout the reading, the author regularly shines light on the idea that eyewitness testimonies might be given too much credit during courtroom proceedings. Furthermore, the author exploits real-life situations of police contributing to wrongful eyewitness tampering. Lines such as the opening sentence of paragraph 4, which says, deliberately or through sloppiness, police often contribute to erroneous identifications. This clearly shows the kind of argument the author is trying to make. Moving on to question 2. Identify the 3 most powerful examples that the author uses to support his argument and explain what makes these examples so effective. My response to that question, the author makes use of paragraphs 4, 5, and 6 as examples of how our justice system treats eyewitnesses in sensitive situations. In paragraph 4, the author identifies the fact that police officers have the regular ability to tamper with eyewitness evidence. The author then proceeds in paragraph 5 with what seems as a solution to the police tampering issue. He explains of the Manson test, a test designed to validate the reliability of an eyewitness testimony and identify if it will or will not be used in court. 1977 was when this Manson test was established. Moving on to paragraph 6, which takes place 7 years later in 1984, the author shines light on a rape case against a man who was wrongfully convicted due to police tampering with eyewitness evidence. So, in a matter of 3 paragraphs, the author has managed to expose, firstly, the fact that police were knowledge of their evidence tampering. Secondly, that an effort was made to counter the tampering. However, thirdly, their method has sadly not worked as they had planned. These examples and the order that they were introduced in have made this author's argument extremely effective. Question 3, do you agree with the author's message? Why or why not? My response, I agree with the author's message because I believe that everyone has the right to a fair trial. Someone could be wrongfully convicted for whatever reason, and solely because a police officer or a judge wants to make a bad decision, a man can end up in prison for the rest of his life. The same way it happened to Ronald Cotton, as said in the passage, the same way it can happen to anyone else, including me. Question 4, reflecting on this assessment and on your reading ability in general, please describe what you see as your biggest strengths and weaknesses as a reader. Give specific examples from your life to support your response. For example, you can share what you enjoy about reading as well as what struggles you face while reading. My response to that question, as a reader, I feel my biggest strength is being able to fully read and comprehend the passage in front of me, as well as respond to any questions following. My weakness, on the contrary, is not being able to necessarily focus on reading a passage when it concerns a subject I'm not interested in. Passages that have to do with being persuasive or argumentative are typically my strong suit.